Rob Ford says he has done nothing worse than anyone else on Toronto City Council. He's just the only one who's been honest enough to come clean. The Toronto mayor and his brother sat down for an interview late this afternoon after what was a remarkable day in council, where Ford was stripped of even more powers. The mayor talked about his drug use and his drinking, and then made this promise.
Are you like off alcohol now? You're done with alcohol?
Finished.
You'll never drink again?
Finished.
You know,
I've had a come to Jesus moment, if you want to call it that.
But if that would have made a difference at all, it came too late for what happened today. In the end, the vote to strip Ford of more of his powers was arguably the least interesting thing that happened. The CBC's Joanna Remiliotis has the full story. Joanna.
Peter, it was another bizarre day at Toronto City Hall. You can count on it. Wait for it, and it will come. The often incomprehensible drama that is the Rob Ford reality show.
over $12,000.
Today, an unprecedented council meeting call to strip a disgraced mayor of most of his budget and his powers quickly turned into a showdown between the Ford brothers and pretty much everyone else.
Rather than this kangaroo court. I'm getting to my question, thank you. Okay, Councillor Ainsley, you got your own issues.
While Councillor Doug Ford took his first stab at council and took aim at a councillor who has admitted to impaired driving, the mayor gleefully mimics someone drinking and driving.
Mayor Ford, please stop disrupting.
Schoolyard antics turned to bullying when minutes later the Fords took on the hecklers in the gallery. The mayor sending his security guard to take pictures in an apparent act of intimidation. And then, the headline image of the day. Ford ramming into a councillor after rushing, he later claimed, to his brother's aid.
I apologize to anyone that I accidentally hit when my brother was in an altercation over there.
But when the chaos subsided, Ford was heard uttering this while looking in his brother's direction.
No, I'll kill him.
Who he wanted to kill isn't clear.
You know what? They jumped up. They don't want anything to do with it.
What is obvious, the Fords are on the warpath, debuting a new show calling for a snap election to let voters decide. But the man dubbed the Teflon mayor may be losing ground, even in strongholds like his own riding, where many still back him. There is a sense, enough.
He is not a person that I want representing me.
I feel sorry for the fellow. I also feel sorry for Toronto to be represented by a person acting the way he has.
Back at City Council, there was little sympathy too.
You, sir, have lost the ability to lead this city.
We've reached the end of our options. It's come to this.
But Ford seemed unfazed, often looking away while councillors spoke.
With Rob Ford, there's no half measures.
Mark Toohey is the mayor's former chief of staff. He says the mayor who refuses to blink probably won't anytime soon.
Well, it's fight or flight, and there's nowhere for him to go.
I've apologized enough. I've admitted my mistakes. I'm not going to sit here and go on and on and on.
Defiant to the end, and definitely strange too. Ford capped the day by comparing today's council meeting to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait.
You guys have just attacked Kuwait. Mark my words, friends. This is going to be outright war in the next election.
But Ford has already lost a key battle. The majority of council voted today to reduce his budget and his powers. The Fords haven't ruled out challenging that in court. Peter?
All right, Joanna, thank you. Joanna Remiliotis, just outside Toronto City Hall tonight. The Prime Minister's office weighed in on the Rob Ford story for the first time today, but used the opportunity to attack the Liberal leader. These latest allegations are troubling, the statement said. Our government does not condone illegal drug use, especially by elected officials while in office, including Justin Trudeau. Nor do we condone drinking and driving. The statement goes on to say the government will continue to work with mayors and city councils, including the Mayor of Toronto and Toronto City Council. We talk more about that illegal drug use the PMO statement mentioned and the fact that Ford bought drugs while in office. I asked what he thinks should happen next.
You purchase drugs yourself, as opposed to having been given by a friend or whatever. You actually purchase the drugs?
Yes.
Now, is that an illegal act?
That's an illegal act. Yes, I've bought marijuana.
while you've been mayor.
Yes.
And what should people think of that? Should they think that you should be charged? You committed an illegal act.
Well, you'll hear his answer to that a little later on.
I apologize to anyone that I accidentally hit when my brother was in an altercation over there.
Another day, another apology from Rob Ford. He is still the mayor of Toronto, but today Toronto City Council voted to strip the mayor of most of his powers, a move he and his brother, Councillor Doug Ford, denounced as undemocratic. Earlier this evening, I sat down with both men in the mayor's office just after the vote.
So what happened out there in those council chambers? You guys called it a coup d'etat. Is that what it was?
That's exactly what it was. The people elected me, the largest mandate in Canada's history, and they just stripped my powers. They gave me 25% of what David Miller had. I returned thousands of calls. I can't function as the mayor of Toronto with 8 people in my office. They just stripped me of everything I had because of all personal problems.
But they must have known that. And is it all because of personal problems?
Just personal. Nothing. Not one person brought up how much money I've saved the taxpayers, getting rid of the $60 car tax, privatizing garbage, having the lowest tax increase of any major city in North America, watching every dime, getting union deals done, building subways. That was never mentioned.
What was mentioned, though, by many of the councillors, including the councillor who sits right beside you, who's been a political ally of yours in the past, was that he was worried about your health. He thinks you're ill. That your personal problems are because you're ill. You don't buy that?
But never mind, I don't buy it. It's not true. I'm
Why
overweight.
would they say that?
Because of a few isolated incidents. I've come forward. I said I have drank in excess a few times. I've admitted to drug use, but I'm not a drug addict. I'm not an alcoholic. I've shown up to work every day for the last 13 years, straight as an arrow. I return everyone's call, and have I had some fun time on the weekends? Yes, I have. And I think everyone has. And I'm human. I made a mistake. Peter, I'm getting punished for my Friday or Saturday night that I decided to have a few drinks.
And too many drinks, right?
Well, depending on what you consider drinking. Sometimes people drink once or 2 or 3 drinks and they're drunk. Well, I'm a big guy, you know. It might take me a few more drinks than that, but this is all personal. They call it a democracy. This is not a democracy. This is a dictatorship.
Do you worry about your brother's health?
His weight. I do.
Just his weight?
His weight, yeah. And
were you aware of the drinking and the drugs?
I was aware that you drink once in a while. He doesn't, you got to understand, Peter, when I said I don't see Rob drink, Rob does his thing at night and on the weekends. He has two kids and his family, and he does his thing. I have my 4 girls. I do my thing. So does it crisscross sometimes? Yes. But when I saw the videos, yeah, he has one too many. If you want to call it binge drinking the odd time, yes. But Rob is changing his life. He's working out every single day. He's on a strict diet.
When they
he's getting health professionals.
Yeah, I'd like to ask about that. But when you heard your fellow councillors say he's ill, he's got a sickness problem.
Yeah, they don't know Rob. They aren't around Rob. They don't hang out with Rob. And I find it very ironic, Peter. It was the pot calling the kettle black down there.
Let me just ask straight up yes and no on a couple of things. Last week you talked about driving after you'd been drinking. Now, were you drunk when you were driving?
No, Peter, what I said, and all of us have done this. Whoever has a license, you've gone to a dinner party, you go out to a restaurant with your wife, you have a glass of wine. Mm-hmm. Do you drive? Absolutely, you drive.
Yeah. If you drank in moderation, below
everybody
the limit.
Below the limit.
But is that what you were talking about in your...
That's exactly what I said. I said, yes. They said, you've drinking? Yes, absolutely. Everybody has.
So you haven't been drunk?
Never. What? Okay. I've never, ever been drunk and driven.
Marijuana while you've been mayor?
Yes.
Crack while you've been mayor?
Yes.
More than once?
No. This is an isolated incident.
Once on crack? Ever on cocaine?
Yes.
Yes, on cocaine.
I admitted that. Yes, I admitted that.
Once or more than once?
I just said that. I've answered your question.
On cocaine, more than
Yes.
once?
When I was younger, I experimented with
No,
drugs.
I mean while you've been mayor.
No.
Never cocaine while you've been
No.
mayor. Ever on drugs in this office?
Never.
And you purchase drugs yourself, as opposed to having been given by a friend or whatever. You actually purchase the drugs?
Yes.
Now, is that an illegal act?
That's an illegal act. Yes, I've bought marijuana.
While you've been mayor?
Yes.
And what should people think of that? Should they think that you should be charged? You committed an illegal act.
You're absolutely right. But there's a lot of people that have done what I've done that sat right on that council chamber floor that have purchased marijuana. Absolutely.
Okay, I don't know that to be a fact, but I know
it to be
but
a
let's
fact.
let that aside. They're not the mayor. You're the mayor of Toronto.
You know what? I'm a human being, okay, Peter? Nobody has helped more people in this city than Rob Ford. Nobody. Am I perfect? No, I'm not perfect. But when it comes to running the city, I've run the city better than any mayor ever has. I've saved more taxpayers' money than ever has. I've changed the culture down here. You don't hear about the scandals anymore.
Well, I mean, the whole world's hearing about what they think is a scandal right now with you.
I mean, a money scandal. Compare us to the provincial government.
Yeah.
$1 billion scandal. That's criminal. The Senate up in Ottawa. That's criminal. In my personal opinion, that's criminal. There's not one time, Peter, not one time you'll ever find me stealing a dime of taxpayers' money. Ever.
Okay. You've mentioned, and your brother's mentioned, how you are seeking help for some of your issues, that you've got professional health care helping you. Can you tell us, what does that mean?
That means I'm dealing with professionals.
Are you dealing on, is it your weight? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol?
I'm dealing with my health issues. And that's what my doctor advised.
Are all three of those health issues?
No, I would say my excessive drinking at times, I don't do drugs, and my health and my weight. I'm training every day. I haven't touched a drop of alcohol in 3 weeks, and I don't do drugs.
The last time you did drugs was?
A year ago sometime.
Would it have been this incident with the crack?
Probably, yes. Probably in and around a year. I don't know exactly when it was, but probably in about a year ago.
Do you remember anything about that night?
I haven't seen the video. I don't know. I was probably pretty inebriated. Very inebriated. You heard about the St. Patrick's Day bringing up 2 years ago. You know what happens when you get to a certain point? When you're very, very inebriated? You remember this, you might not remember that. There's this points, I hate to say it, there's this blackout period that I think we all have gone through. As a teenager, going to university, some people drink to excess. Some people are perfect. I'm not. I got caught. I admitted it. I came forward and said, yes, I have. And now I'm getting punished for telling the truth.
Alessandro Lisi, how does a guy with a criminal past like that end up working on your personal staff?
He didn't work on my personal staff.
He was a part-time driver, right?
He's in front of the courts right now, and I'm not going to comment about Mr. Lisi.
You won't talk about how he ended up driving your car?
He's in front. He's in front of the courts now, and I cannot talk about Mr. Lisi.
What about the police investigation?
My lawyer has advised me, do not be interviewed by the police.
And what would that be based on? Why would you not
talk to my lawyer? Dennis Morris is the top criminal lawyer in Canada, and he said you do not talk to the police. You can talk to Dennis Morris about that.
But what kind of signal does that send, do you think?
Talk to my lawyer, Dennis Morris, about that. I cannot talk about anything before the courts.
What's your sense of what this signal is to the rest of the world about Toronto? Not only do you know the reporters have been here, you have kind of embraced it. You've been doing interviews with organizations from around the world. You've seen what's been put on late night television. What do you make of that?
Well, obviously, it's one of the biggest stories in the country. We want to get our message out. Who would ever think, as I said before you came in here, Peter, the first interview we actually did, a sit-down, we haven't done a sit-down with any other media outlet in the world, including CNN. We didn't do the sit-down. We picked Peter Mansbridge from CBC. Who would ever think that the Fords would have CBC in here first over anyone? No one. Has the media been fair? No, they haven't. And it's not just the Ford brothers saying that. It's very obvious that the Rob's been under siege, under attack by the media from day one. From day one, when their man never won, we're just under siege. What happened today, in our opinion, in our lawyer's opinion, George Rusty, he wrote the statute. This is political. He told us he's never seen anything like this before.
So are you going to fight it?
Absolutely, we're going to fight it. 100%. But Peter, they went ahead, and this is the worst day in Canadian history for democracy. Let's put the personal issues aside. We got to take that to the side. This is about the future of the city, that if they don't like the future mayor, they take the powers off.
If all this was political, did you play into their hands by your personal actions?
Did I play into their hands?
Well, in the sense that your personal life caught up to you. And they, you know, if you believe, the two of you, that this was all political on the part of your political enemies, they use these incidents, the crack, the drinking, the being hammered in public, as you said. Did you play right into their hands?
That's all they have. I could get personal.
It's quite a bit.
You don't think they've ever been drunk in public?
But that's not the point.
Well,
you're the mayor. But you're the only mayor, right?
Right.
And they targeted you, and they used your personal lifestyle to go after you, right?
Yeah, absolutely, they did. You don't kick someone when they're down. And I'm not a very religious guy, but my dad did teach Bible school, and prayer is important to me. And he who shall cast the first stone has never sinned. Everyone has sinned. And you know what? I admitted I sinned. I apologize. It was humiliating, degrading to come out like this, but I have.
Well, coming up, the conclusion of our feature interview with Rob and Doug Ford. They'll talk about the federal cabinet minister who they say helped the mayor face up to his problems.
The turning point, when Rob said is enough done, I'm focusing, is when you see someone like Jim Flaherty getting choked up.
That's next on The National.
I am close with the family. I am. He'll have to, the mayor will have, at the end of the day, he has to make his own decision about what he ought to do.
All right, a moment ago you talked about not kicking a guy when he's down.
Right.
Are people who are friends of yours kicking you while you're down?
No, I want to thank, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of supporters out there that are behind me.
I understand the supporters.
But if you're calling these people friends on council?
No, I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about others. I'm talking about your equivalents in public life who've been close to you when they looked for your support.
Yeah.
Have they been there for you?
Absolutely. Every single person has called me friends, family, complete strangers.
Okay, I get it with the fans, and I understand that, and people coming up to you on the street. I'm talking about people who you work with in politics. The Conservative leader in Ontario. Has he called and given his support to you? And you feel bad about that?
No, I don't really know Tim Hudak that much.
But do you think he's deliberately not calling?
I don't know. I can't talk for Tim.
How about the Prime Minister?
No.
He hasn't called?
No.
Would you expect him to call?
No.
Are you upset that he hasn't called?
No.
How about federal cabinet ministers?
No.
None have called?
Yes, one
Jim
has.
Flaherty?
Yes, he has.
I assume you saw the clip of him.
Yes.
What'd that do to you when you saw that?
That ripped my heart out. I've let a lot of people down, Peter. I've let a lot of people down. But all I can do is, the past is the past. All I can do is, time will tell. Talk is cheap. If you don't see a difference in me in 5 months, then I'll eat my words.
That shows someone's character, Peter. Let's go back to Minister Flaherty. That's a true friend. When he's willing to stand up there and speak in front of the country, in front of the world, and tell you how he feels, that's a true friend. When we ran for election, Rob and I, there wasn't one federal Conservative member, not one provincial PC member, not one Liberal, not one NDP, except Jim Flaherty stood up. And I'm sure he was mocked behind the scenes. And, but you know something? Jim Flaherty believed in us, and it ripped my heart out. It brought us to literally tears that when we saw Jim on TV. And we're going to make the difference. Everyone needs a second chance. Rob will be the champion of second chance. I'll tell you, he will lose weight. He'll get his life moving forward in the right direction. He's on the right track right now. And we're going to work hard for the taxpayers.
You set a timetable just a moment ago. You said 5 months. If I'm sitting here across from you 5 months from now, what'll I be looking at?
You'll look at someone who's 30 pounds at least lighter. Probably going to have a couple inches bigger arms, more solid chest. And we're going to see talk is cheap. My name's going on the ballot on January 2nd. And come and talk to me on election night on October 27th.
And no drinking between now and those 5 months?
I'll do a test anytime you want me to. Anytime you want to do a test, I'm more than willing to do a test.
But are you like off alcohol now?
Completely.
You're done with alcohol?
Finished.
You'll never drink again?
Finished.
You know,
I've had a come to Jesus moment, if you want to call it that.
And what turned it? What was the moment?
Probably Jim.
Yeah?
Jim's talk that night.
Just the humiliation and the belittling and the people I've let down, and it's all because of alcohol. Excessive, stupid, immature behavior. And that's it.
I'll tell you, Rob, and hopefully you won't be upset. He called me after he saw Jim. He says, I'm changing my life. This is a man that went out there for us, supported us, but not just for Jim, but for Rob Beebe. If you're asking the turning point, when Rob said is enough, done, I'm focusing, is when you see someone like Jim Flaherty getting choked up on doing an interview.
I let my mom down, I let my brothers down, I let my wife down, my kids down, and I let my dad down. I know he's upstairs watching this.
We're going to leave it at that for this day. We'll see you in 5 months.
Maybe even sooner, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Well, we'll stay on this story for you in the days to come. But now, it's time for Only in Canada.